All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm Dan Tracer, the Assistant City Engineer up in the Engineering Department. Wanted to present to you today to talk about our changes to our stormwater permit, as well as illicit discharges and some enforcement action. So we'll get through it pretty quickly. It'll just cover the basics, but it's some information that everybody should have and will be useful for you. So every once in a while, the stormwater permit that the city has gets updated with new requirements. That's pretty standard. This last update was in February of 2020, and lists a few changes that I'll go over with briefly for you today. We also have a stormwater management plan that basically is a document the city has that guides us through all of the requirements that we need to do in order to be compliant with that permit. I won't go into super detail with you today, but it is available for anybody to look at any time. It's located on the city's website and can be publicly accessed by anybody or anybody in Public Works staff. I'm already started working with Shane and his supervisors on working towards some of these goals. So if you see some of those tasks come from regarding that permit, that's where they come from. One of the main issues that they're targeting is nitrogen and phosphorus. I think everybody is kind of aware of the algae blooms that happen regularly in Utah Lake. Those are a direct result of all the nitrogen and phosphorus that are being dumped in there. A lot of that comes from the sewage treatment plants. A lot of them are older and just don't treat that nitrogen and phosphorus at the moment, but a lot of it comes from stormwater. So the sewage treatment plants are being targeted and doing upgrades on their treatment processes to remove some of that nitrogen and phosphorus. But there's also a large component that comes from stormwater, which is what I'm talking about today. So what we do regarding that is we do a sampling on all of our stormwater outfalls and specifically look for nitrogen and phosphorus to see if we're contributing to the problem. As you can see by those two graphs on the right, most of our outfalls are really low. We had a couple that are on the higher side, and we've been retesting those and things have decreased. But for the most part, we're pretty good. Our nitrogen phosphorus are lower than what I would have expected, considering how much of an agricultural community we are, and the fact that fertilizers are a big contributor to a lot of that pollution that goes into the waterways. Another big change is some more stringent requirements on education and outreach. I think especially for people that live in the city, you've probably seen some of the mailers that we've mailed out. We've also had a few paragraphs in the newsletter. We've also got all of those, pick up after your dog signs that are located throughout the parks that, aren't used as much as they should be. And of course, thanks to, Shane and his guys for putting up that cool sign at the main park, educating the passersby on stormwater awareness. So the big thing I wanted to talk about today is illicit discharges. What that means is something that goes into our stormwater system that shouldn't be there. Basically, only stormwater should be going into our stormwater system. Makes sense. That's what it's there for. Nothing else should be going in there. All the water that goes into our stormwater system is basically untreated before being dumped into our rivers and lakes. And I know this isn't, the primary job of Public Works to be the enforcers and the eyes and ears, but you guys are out there in the community, in these areas way more than anybody else. So I really would love if you could just keep an eye out and if you do see something, let us know so that we can take the appropriate action and take it from there. So if you do see something, videos and pictures are super helpful, especially because a lot of times these go to the court cases, and that kind of evidence is just invaluable. I know it doesn't look like it, but this picture or this video is actually from 2018, and it was taken in Bluffdale. A cement truck driver was cited for doing a washout on the ground, and while he was in court, pleading his case, he let the city know, hey, by the way, I've got this video of somebody just straight up dumping in the stormwater system. And we said, great, send it over. We'd love to have it. So we went after this homeowner who's doing this, and the health department was involved. They were cited and had to go to the city court system. So I guess the takeaway though is if you do see something, videos and pictures are great and are incredibly valuable. After something happens though, please let us know. You know, you can contact me directly. There's my phone number. If I'm not available and it's an emergency situation, you know, feel free to contact Brady Danes. He's the SWIP inspector who inspects all the active construction sites, or even Ben Henry. You know, he's also out in the community a lot and helps us with code enforcement. All three of those options are really, really great. But if it's an absolute emergency, you know, things are on fire or there's a threat to property or life, you know, absolutely call the police department, and they'll probably bring the fire department out to clean up the spill, investigate, make sure that it does as little damage as possible. But all those options are really great, but we need to know when these things happen, which is why I'm asking all of you for your help. So after you report it, then what happens? Not quite a slap in the wrist, despite what some people think. If it's an active construction site, we can go after them in several ways. You know, we can do a notice of violation, or we can just flat out shut down the site indefinitely until everything is fixed. That seems to be a very effective tactic because for contractors, time is money. For severe cases, we can flat out, you know, criminally charge them. It's rare that we do that. Most of the time, it's just an accident or due to laziness. But for that person, you know, deliberately dumping a wheelbarrow in the storm drain, you know, that's a criminal act. That's intentional and on purpose, and it needs to be properly punished. A lot of times we work with the county health department to have them come out. You know, they need to document these items, make sure there's no effects on downstream users. Their punishments are very heavy. I mean, I've seen some citations up to $25,000 directly from the county. It's pretty harsh. And absolutely, you know, for very severe cases, the State Department of Environmental Quality gets involved. They're basically the EPA for the state of Utah. And again, they sometimes even involve the Federal Environmental Protection Agency. I've gotten calls from from the EPA, from people that have contacted them directly with pollution concerns. And basically they said, hey, what's going on? We got this report of pollution being dumped into the waterways, and then we investigate it and go from there. But to do all those enforcement actions, we have to know about them. And that's why I wanted to present to you today, just kind of reiterate what we're looking for, because you guys are the eyes and ears that are out there. You know, you see everything, you know, a lot more than some of us that are stuck in City Hall most of the time. So we'd love any of your help that you can provide. Again, pictures, videos, and just let us know so that we can document them and, you know, do enforcement actions as needed. So that's my short and sweet presentation for today. I can't see you guys down there, but just if you have any questions, you know, let Tyson know, and I can hear him, so I can answer any questions if anybody has any.
Questions, guys?
I'm going to ask him if
Can hear you.
he can hear me.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about like irrigation water. Is that's going to storm drain? Is that an issue, or?
It can be, yeah. So irrigation water, a lot of the older parts of town, they have irrigation water that dumps into our city storm drain system. And the problem with that is we are responsible for all the water in our storm drain system. So if that irrigation water, you know, is filled with sediments or fertilizer or, you know, anything, and it gets into our storm drain system, then we become responsible for that. So we're trying to separate all irrigation systems from the stormwater system. There are a lot, and it's an expensive process because we basically have to add, you know, new pipe and new connections. So if we do see somebody that's discharging into the stormwater system, first thing we'll do is, grab a sample and say, is this a problem? If the water's clean, it's very, very low on the priority list. But if it does have pollutants in it, it's something we need to address sooner.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think that's all the questions we have today, Dan.
Well, great. I'll be down in a few minutes with a sign-in sheet to make sure everybody, we document who was there and watched it. If you don't sign it, you'll have to watch it again. So please sign that. And thanks for attending, guys. I'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you.